After every broken fish egg is meticulously picked out, premium caviar from this California company will cost up to $182 for just 1 ounce. The most expensive from this company in Italy costs $262. And the best from Madagascar will run you about $282. These prices are fairly standard for premium caviar, no matter where it comes from. For most of modern history, that was simply because caviar was rare. Demand outweighed supply, which drove prices up. But over the last decade or so, that balance has started to shift as caviar from China floods the market.
The small purveyors and the small producers can't survive. It's too hard to compete with China, with these other imports.
So if we're talking simple supply and demand, caviar should be cheaper for consumers, right? Not quite. Caviar seems to be everywhere these days, but the prices consumers pay haven't moved much. So how did China come to dominate the caviar industry? And if there's more caviar on the market than ever, why is it still so expensive? Caviar wasn't always a luxury. To American fishermen in the early 1800s, it was literally garbage. Demand here was nearly non-existent, and supply? The rivers overflowed with sturgeon. If it didn't end up in the trash, some bars in New York served caviar sandwiches for free, like peanuts as a salty snack to encourage beer sales. Meanwhile, European diners treated caviar as a delicacy and paid premium prices for it. By the 1870s and 80s, one New Jersey town, aptly named Caviar, produced more caviar than any other place in the world. This was the golden age of American caviar. But it wouldn't last. Fishermen harvested millions of pounds of sturgeon with few restrictions, and populations plummeted. As sturgeon became less abundant, prices climbed. In 1885, American sturgeon roe cost the equivalent of $300 to $400 per 135-pound keg. Just 15 years later, a keg of caviar cost around $4,000. Wild sturgeon continued to dwindle throughout the 20th century. Finally, in 2006, the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora effectively banned the trade of wild-caught caviar worldwide. Global supply shrank even further, pushing prices higher and deepening caviar's luxury status. It's an almost textbook example of an economic idea called the rarity value thesis. Basically, the less of something there is, the more valuable it becomes. But there has to be some supply. So with traditional sources strained, producers had to figure something else out.
What happened instead was people started to farm caviar, which wasn't really done before to this extent.
Generally, farmed caviar is worth much less than wild because of that rarity value thing. But after the 2006 ban, farmed caviar became a necessity. Producers now needed to build their own infrastructure and care for the animals for years before they could make a profit. At many farms, tanks have to be constantly flushed with fresh, oxygenated water. Some are built into natural bodies of water, like at Assapenser in Madagascar. The team spent months finding a lake cool enough to mimic the temperatures of the Caspian Sea. Sturgeon are slow, expensive animals to grow. Depending on the species, it can take a decade before the fish are mature enough to harvest their eggs. And they need to be fed the whole time. Assapenser spends over $130,000 a month on feed alone for about 60,000 fish. Traditionally, sturgeon are killed to harvest their eggs, so it's usually one and done. But some farms have started producing no-kill caviar, where they basically induce labor and then gently massage the eggs out. That process can be repeated every 15 months or so. The rise of farmed caviar, especially from China, ultimately caused a surge in supply, driving down wholesale prices. The wholesale price is what producers charge restaurants, distributors, and other retailers to buy their products in bulk. And it's usually lower than the retail price. That's the one customers pay. China now exports over 40% of the global market. So how has China skyrocketed to global industry dominance in such a short time? In the 1990s, China began investing heavily in sturgeon aquaculture, building large inland farms using recirculating water systems. They were controlled, scalable, and designed for long-term production.
They are farming mass amounts of caviar, and that caviar is, or it can be, a lot cheaper than traditional caviar.
Quality improved quickly, and by the mid-2010s, Chinese caviar was showing up in Michelin-starred restaurants. Scale is what changed everything. UN trade data shows China went from a negligible exporter in 2006 to the dominant supplier by 2019.
In 2024, China exported 322 tons of caviar. That's double the amount of caviar it exported in 2019.
So why can't other countries scale to compete?
The government has really invested in that industry. So they are putting money into the farms. There is really cheap labor in China that is not available in America or in Italy. And so it's really reshaped the dynamics and the pricing of the market, in addition to just a huge boatload more of caviar entering the market.
That surge in supply had a ripple effect across the global industry. Wholesale prices fell, in some markets by more than 40% in less than a decade. Between 2014 and 2020, the EU reported that the average price of caviar fell from about 413 euros per kilo to 241. But lower wholesale prices didn't drop the prices for consumers in the way we might expect. What it did do was reshape the way caviar is marketed, presented, and experienced. On the one hand, you have restaurants that are buying caviar cheaper, but selling it for roughly what they normally would, because people expect it to be expensive. Then you have restaurants following a new playbook,
Our restaurant has the best deal for caviar.
using wholesale caviar as a marketing tool, especially on social media. In both cases, retailers rely on customers feeling that caviar is a luxury good. Perception, not scarcity, is what keeps caviar so expensive.
It's going viral on TikTok and Instagram.
Caviar Talk is filled with creators from all social stratospheres eating and engaging with caviar. They create aspirational content that leverages caviar's luxury status, while at the same time making it feel accessible to their followers. The Modern in New York is one restaurant fueling the trend. Chef Thomas Allen has taken the little luxury route.
Do I make a ton of money off the caviar hot dogs? No.
That's by design. The Modern sells 2 mini hot dogs topped with caviar for $39. Tom wouldn't tell us exactly how much they're marked up, but he assured us the margins were slim.
I want you to have the caviar hot dogs. So I'm not going to put them at a price that's going to intimidate you or make you feel like you're boxed out of enjoying something that I think is really unique and really special.
Once diners are in the door, Tom says the goal is that they'll order other higher margin items on the menu that aren't necessarily engineered with social media in mind. Viral or otherwise, these hot dogs are prepared with just as much precision as any other dish from a 2 Michelin-starred restaurant.
We're going to make the bread, we're going to make the sauce, we're going to make our mustard, we're going to pickle our shallots. We're going to do all the things we can do to perfect in a consistent way the things that we have control over. We toast it on both sides so it's warm and crispy. First goes a sauce made with fried eggs and mustard, and then we put our hot dog right on top and a big spoonful of caviar.
The Modern uses Chinese caviar on its dogs.
When people say Chinese caviar, the assumption is that it's cheaper or it's lesser quality. Caviar is still expensive for me.
For Tom, the goal isn't to cheapen caviar. It's to reframe luxury. Keep the prestige, remove the intimidation. To see how the dish plays with everyday diners, we sent 2 Business Insider reporters to the Modern.
I have had caviar, I think, once in my life.
I had it once at a wedding, but I don't remember it.
Dishes like this are meant to be an entry point for the diner and their followers.
Oh my God, the brininess that I was kind of scared of, so good.
The saltiness of the caviar cuts the smokiness of the hot dog. It works really well. It's such an interesting combination. I feel like my brain is saying no, but then like my taste buds are like, I want more.
Have you seen the thing of people putting caviar on like Pringles and things like that? Like, I love the kind of high-low.
That's
like,
what I'm
it feels
saying, yeah.
counterintuitive in a kind of funny way.
Can I have like 12 more to go, perhaps?
Those who are concerned about caviar losing its status because I put it on a hot dog haven't tried the caviar hot dog.
Chef Tom's strategy only works as long as caviar still feels special.
Working in fine dining, especially New York City, caviar is a pretty essential part of who we are. It's a luxury ingredient, and a restaurant like ours needs to have luxury ingredients.
While many restaurants have adapted to the changing caviar landscape, some small producers face a much tougher path. With more caviar on the market, they're feeling pressure to lower their wholesale prices to compete. But small farms like California Caviar Company say they can't afford to lower their prices because running a sturgeon farm is simply too expensive.
We are a artisanal caviar reaching a very elite group of people. So we don't play the price game.
California Caviar Company can't compete with volume. Instead, it focuses on quality. The process of getting premium caviar from the farm to your mother-of-pearl spoon is labor-intensive, meticulous, and expensive.
So the eggs come in on ice. Each bag is labeled to match the fish.
This is a sturgeon's ovary. To separate it from its eggs, Deb rubs it through a screen.
Every single egg is taken off by hand.
This step may look simple, but it takes a bit of finesse. She doesn't want to push too hard.
The more we push through the screen, the more picking we're doing, the longer the screening, and then it really breaks down caviar.
By picking, she means picking out the duds. Bad eggs are removed at every stage of processing, but the goal is to retain as many as possible.
We want to save the eggs because each egg is, $3 a piece.
After separating the eggs from the ovary, they get washed.
It still has a lot of ovarian fluid, but the minute we rinse it, the clock starts ticking and it starts to break down.
Rinsing removes all the gunk that reminds you that caviar is an animal product.
Sometimes the water will be gray, white, pink, red, and we want the water to be completely clear by the time we're done. So after we've gone through the screening and the washing and rinsing, this is where we dry them a little bit, get off the excess water, and pull out any of the broken eggs or any tissues that snuck through. It looks like a little shell. And so now we'll salt her. And I continue to pick as I go. You want to salt it evenly so you don't have one hot spot with too much salt in one area. And then you just want to fold it in. Some people use their hands. I find that it just warms the caviar too much. Caviar hates temperature.
She'll fold until all the salt is dissolved and her instincts kick in.
You just feel it, when it's done, it's not done. And the caviar tends to almost push back. Right now, they're like little beads against my spoon, and now it starts to move like one. It's starting to release its water. It's really shiny though. It looks great. She's happy.
After a taste test to check the salt level, Deb lets the caviar dry for a spell before packaging.
So we're gonna pack it down, get the air out. And then at the end, to make sure the air is out, you can tap it. And then they'll clean these. Clean the tins, label the tins, and have every jar and tin that will match the paperwork back to the fish to the farm in the day to harvest. And so we wonder, why is it so expensive? It's because it's a lot of work.
With small producers in the market alongside bigger ones, a tiered caviar system has emerged.
It's like the wine world. Caviar is here to stay.
Take champagne, for example. Luxury champagne can start around $150, but mid and low-tier sparkling wines have expanded the market without eroding champagne's status as a luxury good. Small batch American-made caviar will likely always command a premium, the same way sparkling wine from the Champagne region of France will.
Has champagne lost its prestige? And the answer is no. You're going to have the $1,000 bottles of champagne for those very special events, and then you're going to have sparkling wine.
Caviar at scale dominates the middle of the market, while smaller producers survive by leaning harder into that top tier. That's California Caviar Company's bread and butter. But it also engages with the entry-level market by offering fish egg products that aren't technically caviar. An ounce of roe starts at $8.
Yes, are we still indulging on $100 jars, 1 ounce jars of caviar? Yes. But what you're starting to see are more rows popping up in different ways to integrate it.
Deb doesn't expect every producer will be able to find a way to engage with the changing market.
You will see a consolidation because the small purveyors and the small producers can't survive. It's too hard to compete with China, with these other imports. Farming is not for the weak of heart.